everyone, Michelle here from Gardening TLC, and we are going to talk about annuals today. How many of you are doodling right now on paper, napkins? You're going through Pinterest pictures and looking on the internet for different recipes of different things to put in your pots this year. I have been doing that nonstop. This is about that time of year where I'm really jonesing to get in the garden, but it's still, for me, in zone 5, too cold. So today I thought I'd talk about the different annuals that I'll be using this year, my must-haves that I'm going to be putting in my garden and in pots. So come along and let's go check it out. So welcome everyone. If you're new here, I'm glad that you've decided to join us. For those of you that are new, my name is Michelle and I live in Northern Illinois, Zone 5. I do own a garden center and I am a certified proven winner garden center. So a lot of the annuals that I'm going to talk about today, they are proven winners, but there are others that I talk about that are not proven winners because I sell other things besides just that. When it comes time for me to put my pots together or to start thinking about the color scheme of what it is that I want to do in my garden so that one garden kind of flows into the other and all the colors are a little bit more cohesive, I start doodling on napkins, paper. I start thinking about all the different plants that are out there and what would look good together, or what's new that I want to try, or what's something I want to grow that I've never grown before. That is what I did over the last 2 weeks. I've been on and off just kind of doodling. And so today I thought I would share probably 20, maybe 21 different annuals that I'm going to be using in my own garden, in the ground, in pots. Some of these will be at the garden center. Some of them will be in corporate clients' pots. And it's not every one that I'm using because that would be a really long video. But it's pretty much the majority of what I'm going to be using in different combinations in different places. And this year we are going with the pink and purple. And I'm so excited to use this color scheme this year. Last year I was a little bit more on the cooler side with orange, yellow, and red. This year I'm going to go with pink, purple, and white. Yeah, it's going to be awesome. Now there are a few pops of like some sunset oranges here and there in my garden that's like separate, that is a shade area that I really want that big bright pop of that kind of orangey color. So you will see me talk about a couple of those as well. But oh, I am so excited this year to start gardening. I can't wait. I wish it would just warm up. It's not even warm enough yet for me to get like my cool season pots done in front of the store, because we do have a couple nights where the temperatures are still like 25. Although, check this out. First, I want to tell you what an annual is, just so that we're clear about what the definition of that is. I'm going to read it to you. So annual plants complete their life cycle from germination to seed production within a single growing season, and then they die. Most of them, when you're doing blooming ones, will bloom their heads off. But the one thing that you're going to find with annuals is they really need to be fed to produce all of those beautiful flowers all summer long. So I fertilize mine once a week with a water-soluble fertilizer, and there's a lot of different ones out there. You kind of choose the one that you like. There's Coat, there's Proven Winners, there's Miracle Grow, Fertilome has one. So you find one that you like, and you basically are going to dissolve that in water, and you can either do that in a watering can, or you can sometimes buy those attachments for your hose and you put the mix right into the attachment, attach it to your hose, and then you broadcast spread it and you can fertilize that way as well. Now, I use a slow release fertilizer at the beginning, and then I use the water soluble throughout the growing season. As we start planting pots, I will go over all of this with you. There is some videos out there that I've done on the things that you need to do to have successful pots. I'll link the video down below. You can check it out. But let's just jump in right now to the different ones that I'm going to use this year. I'm so excited to talk about these. I wish I was planting these, but not yet. I do get my very first load of annuals in next week, and then they just start coming week after week after week after week until we fill the whole greenhouse up, and then we empty the whole greenhouse out. So it's like you cycle up and then you cycle down. Let's talk about number one on my list, which is, as you can see right here, this beautiful Supertunia. This Supertunia is from Proven Winners, and I watched Laura at Garden Answer grow this one last year. She got to test it. I was pleasantly surprised by the performance of this flower, and I like that it's got that nice effervescent glow right in the middle of it. Kind of makes me think of a morning glory almost. But I liked the effect of that when it was growing. Now, all of these that I'm going to plant, the tiara pink and the tiara blue, they're going to be in pots and they're going to be mixed with other annuals. And I think they're going to be absolutely beautiful. I like to use Supertunias because they are so vigorous and they perform very well. These guys have a nice mounding habit, get anywhere from 4 to 12 inches high in the pot. Now, the one thing is this is not a Vista. This is just a regular Supertunia. Sometimes Vistas are very, very vigorous and they can take over other things that you grow with them. So when I'm planting Supertunias, I like to just use the regular Supertunias in smaller pots. So watch for this one to be combined this year with other annuals as we grow through the season. Pretty excited to start this one. Okay, if you can believe this, this will be my very first time ever growing heliotrope. I've never had a grower who grew it and I could never get my hands on it. I wasn't really like that aware of it before until I saw other people growing it or sending me pictures with it in there. And then people talked about how this smelled so great. So this year, my grower is growing a merino blue, which is a seed from the Ball Seed Company. And it gets, let's see, 10 to 12 inches is your spacing, 10 to 14 inches is your height, and it gets 12 to 18 inches wide. And you're supposed to grow it in partial sun. So this is one that I'm going to be planting in a pot, but I'm also going to plant it in the ground. And I'm going to put it in a place that gets morning sun. Yeah, I'm going to plant it along the pathway of the front garden. So pretty excited to grow this one. I can't believe I've never grown it before. I hope it's not a dud. I hope it's totally everything I want it to be. Pretty excited to get this one in. I ordered a whole flat just for me. So we'll see how this one does. My main grower is also growing this one this year. It's a petunia called Frosted Sapphire, and it's from the Jewel collection from Ball Seeds. I really like this one. It's like these little bitty nuggets of, they call them blue, but we know they're purple, but they're purple leaves with that beautiful white edge on it. So it's got this beautiful picketty pattern on there. I just love it. I think this is going to contrast so nicely in the pots. I can't wait to use it. I am going to use it in a couple corporate pots. I'm going to use it at the garden center, and this one is also going to be used at my house. So you're going to see this one kind of throughout the garden. And I like that it's a double and it's different and it's interesting. So very, very glad that they decided to grow this one this year so I could grow it. I've seen this one in the past and my grower has had it on and off, but I've never picked it and put it in my pot. So this year growing this one will also be a first time for me. If you are looking for a plant that's pretty versatile and that's pretty low maintenance, I would highly recommend a Surefire begonia from Proven Winners. They have a lot of different colors. There's white, there's red, there's rose. They even have a cherry cordial that's kind of like a bright red, and then it's got these dark purple leaves on it. You can find one that you will love. And these guys, oh my gosh, they perform their heads off. Typically when I put them in, I use a slow release fertilizer, and then I don't have to do anything but water them occasionally. They're drought tolerant. They don't have to be fertilized every week like some of the other annuals. They grow in full sun, part shade, or you could probably get away with, I'd say 3 hours, 4 hours of sun, and they're still performing. And they're pretty consistent in the height that they grow. I just think that they're fabulous. And in some way or another, I'm planting these every single year. Now, this year, what I decided to do was when we did the design last year off the back deck, here it is. You can see down the embankment underneath the viburnums, we've planted a whole mess of the Surefire rose begonias. I said I was going to do that, and I'm still going to do that. I think this is going to be so woo in your face. It's going to look so awesome. I can't wait. So that's what we're doing with the Surefire rose begonias. Pretty much all of them are going in the ground at my house. That's where you're going to see them this year in my garden. I started growing Angelonia, probably a couple years ago, and I have grown to really like it in the ground, and I like it in pots if you can grow other things with it that complement it. I find that if you grow things that are too vigorous with Angelonia in the pot, that it gobbles it up. So you have to kind of chill out with what you're putting with it in a pot, but in the ground, I planted this in the ground last year and I loved it. It was fabulous. I thought it did so well. Now I'm going to be planting the pink, but I'm also going to be planting the blue. Now, most of these are going to get anywhere from 18 inches high to 28 inches high. I think some of that's going to depend on how much sun it's getting and whether or not you're actually feeding them every week. This is a full sun plant and they do want good drainage. Now, I planted this in heavy clay last year and it did really well. So I'm doing it again this year. I will also plant my cleomes again this year. Now, I like to use the one from Proven Winners because they don't seed all over the place. They grow very consistently. They're going to get anywhere from 24 to 36 inches high. I usually plant a whole flat. And as you can see here in the front of my house, I love this here. Now, this year, I'm going to plant them in the same place, but I'm going to put them back just a little bit further, and I'm going to layer some things in front of them. So stay tuned for that. That's going to look really cool. I don't typically plant these in pots. Usually they're just getting planted in the ground, but for me, it's a must-have in my garden every year. I had a rabbit problem last year. Made me crazy because they were going around eating all my petunias in my low bowls. So this year, just in case the hawks and the owls don't do their job and I have rabbits again, I am going to plant more Superbena from Proven Winners. I'm going to use the whiteout and the violet ice. I think I'm also going to use pink shades, but you're going to see more of the verbena in the lower bowls that I like to do because I don't want them to all get eaten up by the rabbits. And that's what happened last year. I had these big, glorious bowls and they looked great. And one day they had petunias and the next day they didn't. And then they also went around and ate all my potato vines. So this year, I'm not going to have any potato vines anywhere at my house in the hopes of them not realizing that that is their little salad bar and maybe they'll go look someplace else for something else to eat. But verbena is a great one to mix in. I really like it. I like the Proven Winners because sometimes verbena in the heat of the summer, it will like stall. And then you kind of have to cut it back and feed it and then get it to push new growth again. And I find with the Proven Winner verbena, it really just kind of keeps blooming even through the heat of the summer. So that's why I like to choose their cultivars over, say, some of the other ones that are out there. Not that the other ones aren't beautiful. They are. I just don't want to have a pause when I'm growing it. So you're going to see this in a lot of pots this year. At the end of last year, I contacted one of my growers and asked them if they could get seeds allocated to them to grow the plain in the blue salvia for me. I've never been able to get my hands on it. None of my growers grew it, but I watched Laura over at Garden Answer grow it over and over and over again. And I see how big and beautiful and impactful it is. And I'm like, I gotta have that for my garden. So I agreed to buy, X number of flats for the garden center and they grew it for me. And I'm pretty sure it's a successful crop because I haven't gotten any emails saying that they aren't going to be able to supply it to me. So pretty excited to bring this one in. I've always had salvia, but it's always been the unplugged series, which just don't get as big as the plain and the blues. And I think the color on this one is a little bit darker. So you're going to see this one in some pots, but you're also going to see it in the ground. So look for this one this year. I know for sure I'm putting it in the parking lot island over at the store. It's going to be awesome. Isn't this a great color contrast? So these two plants will be grown in pots this year, and they're both from Proven Winners. One of them is a Supertunia. It's not a Vista, just a regular Supertunia called Royal Velvet. Now, this is that really dark saturated purple. I really like it. I know some people have had problems with it like fading as it's growing. I really haven't had that issue when I've grown it, but this is going to be contrasted up against this mini Vista Yellow. Now the mini Vista Yellow is Proven Winners annual of the year. So we've got lots of them coming into the garden center, and this will be planted in pots at the store because I want to be able to highlight these two together. They really look good together, but there'll be some other things growing with it as well. So a mini Vista, yes, they're very vigorous. And I grew this yellow one a couple years ago in a pot. I had to keep trimming it back. It wasn't in a big enough pot and it was taking over the pot. But I think if I put it in a bigger pot, then everything else that I plant with it will have a chance to be able to establish itself. But I'm telling you, you couldn't even see the leaves on this plant. There were so many yellow flowers. I was uber impressed. It was pretty awesome. So yeah, looking forward to the two of these together. I loved this plant last year. Look at the blue on there. And it really is this beautiful true blue. I planted it in a pot up by my front door. It was gorgeous. And yes, I am planting it again. Now I'm going to mix it with other things. You'll have to watch for the pot combination, but this is definitely going in my garden this year. I definitely have areas at the garden center and at my house that get serious sun and serious heat, I will be planting lantana because I am putting in a butterfly garden. I did a video last week about the butterfly garden, and I'm pretty sure I know where I'm going to put it. And instead of making it smaller, I actually think it's going to be a little bit bigger. And I think it's going, well, I'm not going to tell you yet. You'll have to wait for the reveal. But lantana will be one of the things that I'm going to put in as an annual in the garden because it is a butterfly magnet. And I'm going to use the Royal Lemon Tart. Now, the other way that I'm going to use this is at the entrance to the path of where this butterfly garden is going to go. I'm going to have 2 pots. And in this pot, this is one of the plants that goes in the recipe of the pot that's going to go there. So yeah, it's going to be awesome. I can't wait. I don't really plant a lot of lantana. I don't know why. It's pretty easy to grow. It's drought tolerant. It's absolutely gorgeous. A lot of them come with different bicolors on them, and it is a butterfly magnet. So we're adding it to the garden. This is Proven Winners Caladium of the Year. It's from their Heart to Heart series, and it's called Blushing Bride. I did get my hands on this one this year. Sometimes when they roll out the Caladium of the Year, sometimes I can get it and sometimes I can't. It just depends if my grower decides to grow it. Well, this year they decided to grow it, so I am going to put it in one pot. I have this pot that I do on my bistro table every single year, and I like to change it out with different things. Last year, I just did a whole pot of mini me watermelon Coleus. This year, I'm going to do a mixed pot, and this caladium will be in that pot. So I think it's really nice looking with that beautiful pink and the green modeling through it and the edge. And oh yeah, it's going to be great. In my backyard, off my deck, I have shade areas that I like to plant up with pots. It's over by where my air conditioner is, and I have a lemony lace elderberry over there. One of the pots that I'm going to plant up, I'm going to use this tuberous begonia in, and this is called Limitless Sunset. It is a beautiful bicolored begonia that has a cross between like this beautiful, I call it a lemony yellow and like a tangerine orange, thus the name Sunset. I think it's going to look fabulous in the pots. I am actually not going to plant anything with it. I'm just going to stuff this whole pot full of these begonias and just let them shine all on their own. You will see lemon coral sedum everywhere this year. You're going to see it in pots. You're going to see it in the ground. You're going to see it in my garden. You're going to see it in my heads that I like to plant up with succulents. It's going to be everywhere. One of the things that I'm doing this year is softening paths that I've lined with boulders. And this will be one of the products that I'm going to use to help soften those areas along with some other stuff. But what I'm going to do at the end of the year is I am going to dig this up and I am going to try and overwinter it. For me, this does not grow and winter over in the ground. So I don't want to have to keep replacing it every year though. And a lot of you told me that it's really easy to overwinter. So I'm definitely going to try that this year. But this is a lemon coral sedum by Proven Winners. I've grown it before. It's pretty spectacular. So you want a chartreuse color? This is it. I am planting this and I'm going to love it. I will be planting zinnias this year. Well, I plant zinnias every year, but this year in my garden at my house, this will be a color combination of zinnias that I'm going to be planting together, and I'm going to do it 2 different ways. So we've got the Double Sahara Raspberry Ripple, the Oklahoma Pink, and the Benares Giant Carmine Rose. We will also be growing the 2 taller ones in our cut flower garden for my floral store, so that will be over there as well. But this one is the collection that I put together back in the fall that I made available for sale. And I think I have like 25 seed packets available still. So I've linked my Shopify store here. If you want to grow these along with us, place your order before they're all gone. And even if they're not all gone, I'll end up planting all of them because I'll add them to the butterfly garden. But if you want to get some, you get 25 of each seed, and then we're going to plant them 2 different ways. So you can check that out if you'd like to, but we will be putting zinnias, and not just these zinnias. We plant lots of zinnias, but you'll see those in the garden as well. After I did the video for the butterfly garden, I decided that I had to have these marigolds. So I ordered some seeds. I got them from Baker Creek. I did put the link down below if you want to go check that out. But I am going to do the Kilimanjaro White. I'm going to start them in seed trays. I actually got the seeds yesterday, and I'll probably get them planted up today or tomorrow to get them going. That way I have little plants to put in the ground. I don't want to wait for as long as it takes for these to bloom from like direct sow in the ground. It takes like 80 days. So I want my plants or my flowers a little bit sooner than that. These are going to be mixed into the butterfly garden that I'm going to be doing. And I am doing the Kilimanjaro white because it's not really white. It's more like a cream or a yellow. That's the color I want. And I just thought these were gorgeous. So I'm putting these in my garden this year. This is a Crazytunia called Cosmic Purple. It became available this year from one of my growers, and I decided to bring it into the garden center. And then as I was like, doodling on my napkins, I kept going back to this one. And I finally went, you know what? I've looked at this one like 3 times. I need to put it someplace in my garden. Now, I've never grown it, so I don't know how it performs, but we're going to find out. I am going to plant some in the ground, but I'm also going to plant some in a pot. This is going to be at the garden center. I think it's going to go in the pots at the island, but also in the ground at the island, just so I can kind of gauge how it performs. But I thought this was such an interesting looking petunia. I really liked it. So we're going to grow it. I've been planting Coleus in pots along my sidewalk ever since I moved into my property. Typically, I'm growing either Velveteen, Wicked Witch, or Pineapple Brandy. They're all from Proven Winners, and they are fabulous Coleus. All 3 of those kind of grow in a mounding habit, and they hold on all season long without getting those flowers that you have to pinch off until the end of the season. Well, this year I've decided to grow dipped in wine. My color schemes are going to be those pinks and purples. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to plant 1 4-inch dipped in wine in my pot. And then I'm going to plant a 4-pack of impatiens around the base of it. Now this year I'm going to use a color scheme that's called Portland, and it's got white and a mix of 2 different pinks. I think that's going to look really great. Now, the one thing that's different about a dipped in wine, at least in my experience, because I've grown it before, is when I grow it in a pot, instead of growing like in that rounded manner that some of the other ones do, it kind of grows up like in clumps of the bracts. And so like it grows a bunch of stems and then gets like a mounding bunch of leaves on it. And then it grows another set of bracts over here. So it almost looks like it has a little bit of a layered effect to it. I've never grown this one in pots along the sidewalk, so I'm looking forward to it. I have always planted the other ones because I know how they'll perform, but it's always good to change up things every once in a while. And I have yet to plant a Coleus from Proven Winners that didn't totally impress me. So I don't think that this will be any different. You're going to see these annuals that I just highlighted pretty much everywhere in my garden this year. They aren't the only ones that I'm using, but I'm going to be using them in the ground, in pots, here at my house, over at the garden center, and even in some of the corporate pots that I do where I fill their pots in front of their businesses. These are the main ones, but there'll be other ones that I'm going to be mixing them in with, and there'll be some perennials, some shrubs. So stay tuned for me to take all of these annuals, mix and match them and put them together and make some really cool combinations. That's like, 6 weeks away. I know. We are just at the beginning of April, and for us, our last average frost date is May 15th. That seems like forever from now. But I will probably plant some of them up early and then hold them in the greenhouse so that all we have to do is take them out. But I will bring you along as we're planting all that, and then you're going to see how they progress through the season. And with me, you're going to find out, do we love them or do we hate them? Or were they just kind of or were they, oh my gosh, that's the best pot I ever planted? How many of you have had a pot like that? Every once in a while, I plant one like that, and I'm like, oh yes, I hit a home run. So stay tuned for that. That is coming up. Thank you so much for watching today. I hope you found one that you loved, that you can now start doodling on paper or a napkin and create some of your own beautiful pots to put outside your house this summer. So I'm Michelle. Thanks so much for watching, and we will see you in the next video. Bye, everyone.